In the future, sentinel robots will exterminate all mutants as well as any humans who try to help them. A group of mutants evades the sentinels in Moscow with the assistance of Kitty Pryde, who can phase through matter and project a person's consciousness back in time. They attack the remaining X-Men in Moscow, including Colossus, who can transform into a metallic form, Blink, who can teleport herself and large masses including sizable groups of people, Warpath, who can possess some degree of superhuman strength, Iceman, who can freeze anything around him and transform his entire body into organic ice, and Sunspot, who can absorb solar energy and convert it for use as physical strength. Following the Sentinel attack, she decides to send one of the mutants, Bishop, who can absorb and redirect energy, into the past to change an event so that the current events do not occur. To spare her enough time, mutants sacrifice themselves to give Kitty the ability to transport Bishop's consciousness back a few days to warn the others of the impending attack and ensure their safety. As a result, Pryde's group meets Storm, who can control weather, Wolverine, who was born with a retractable forearm claws and had a powerful healing factor, Professor Xavier, who has a great telepathy ability, and Magneto, who can manipulate magnetic fields to his will and control metallic objects, at a monastery in China. According to Xavier, the Sentinels were initially designed by Bolivar Trask, a weapons designer slain by Raven's Darkholm in 1973. Following the assassination, Mystique was apprehended, and Trask's firm took her DNA to construct Sentinels who can adapt to any mutant power, making them nearly invulnerable. Xavier intends to travel back in time to 1973 and prevent Trask's assassination in the hopes of changing the future. However, when Wolverine learns that time travel will kill Charles, he volunteers instead, believing that his regenerative talents will allow him to survive. Pryde sends Wolverine's consciousness back to 1973 to stop Mystique, who can shapeshift to anyone, from assassinating Bolivar Trask, the Sentinel's founder. Xavier and Magneto encourage Wolverine to contact both of their younger selves for assistance. Logan has limited time since the Sentinels are bound to find the mutants in China. Once they do, mutants will be unable to escape because Pryde will be too busy projecting Logan into the past to project anybody else. Also, whatever Logan modifies will become history and rest of the world will remember it. But Logan will be the only one who remembers the truth. Wolverine awakens in 1973 in his younger body with his natural claws rather than those manufactured by William Stryker. Trask unsuccessfully rallies Congress to support his Sentinel program since the Defense Committee is unwilling to fund a program that targets its population and is skeptical that mutants pose a threat to society. Meanwhile, in Saigon, Mystique stops a teenage William Stryker from taking a batch of mutants including Alex Havocs, the Plasma Blast, GIs for Trask's experiments. Wolverine wakes up in the past and visits the X-Mansion where he meets Xavier and Hank, the Beast. Wolverine explains his goal and persuades Xavier to assist in stopping Raven from murdering Trask. Initially, Xavier refused to do so. A young and shattered Xavier succumbed to alcohol. Hank reports that Xavier's Institute for Gifted Youngsters dissolved after most of its teachers and pupils enlisted in the Vietnam War. Hank says he designed a serum to treat his spine and to control Hank's mutation. Xavier is overusing a serum that permits him to walk after being shot and paralyzed in Cuban Missile Crisis while suppressing his telepathy. In his room, recalling Raven's memory and reconsidering what Wolverine said, Xavier agrees to help Wolverine in the hopes of reuniting with Raven. To make that happen, they plan to free Magneto from a jail cell beneath the Pentagon where he is accused of assassinating President John F. Kennedy. This explains the magic bullet idea, a bullet with a curved course that killed JFK. They decide to get help from a mutant Quicksilver. Mystique examines Trask's office and discovers that he has been trapping mutants for research. She also discovers Trask has experimented on mutants and killed several in the process, including Azazel with teleportation ability and Angel the Flywings. Trask is meeting with Vietnam Sea General in Paris and she intends to kill him there. They enlist Quicksilver, a mutant with incredible speed, to break Ledger out of the Pentagon. Quicksilver gets Eric out of Pentagon and he smoothly fights the cops and helps them escape. After thanking Peter for his efforts, they send him off. Later in the jet, Charles is angry at Eric for abandoning him and taking Raven. Eric claims Angel, Azazel, Emma and Banshee, mutant brothers and sisters, have all died. Congress experimented on them and butchered them. Out of rage, Eric demands, "Where were you, Charles? We were supposed to protect them. You abandoned us all." Eric admits that he did not kill the president but was attempting to save him. He claims they took him before he could because the president was one of them. Eric says he never anticipated they would utilize Raven's DNA to accomplish this. He apologizes to Charlie. In Paris, Mystique impersonates a South Vietnam Sea commander to infiltrate the Paris Peace Accords alongside Trask, who is attempting to market his sentinel technology to communist countries. Xavier, Magneto, Beast, and Wolverine arrive just as Mystique is about to kill Trask. Magneto attempts to assassinate Mystique so that the Sentinels cannot take her DNA, but she jumps out of a window. In the midst of it all, Wolverine is slipping back to the past to when he first became Wolverine. Pride's influence over Logan deteriorates at this point in the future, and Logan injures Pride, including the reason for his presence and their identity. Charles tries to help Wolverine restore his memory while Hank stops Eric from killing Mystique. Stryker assists himself in escape, and before leaving the room, he witnesses Wolverine with his retractable forearm claws. McCoy fights him, allowing Raven to escape while publicly revealing the three are mutants. Pride looks after Logan's memory in the future and returns him to his previous state. Logan, who has now returned to normalcy, claims to have seen someone who will cause him a great deal of anguish in the future. Mystique's struggle spills onto the street before the people, and she finally flees. Trask is saved, but the world is frightened by the presence of mutants. President Richard Nixon approves Trask's Sentinel program and plans an unveiling ceremony. Eric learns how Sentinels function while also discovering that Trask has taken Mystique's blood sample from the street. Mystique follows Eric and confronts him about his attack on her. Magneto argues that now that Trask has Mystique's blood, she can create a weapon that uses her genes to wipe all the mutants out. So he intends that they must attack while they have the upper hand, but Mystique wants to kill only Trask. At the mansion, Xavier stops taking his serum and gradually regains his mental skills, but he loses his ability to walk. Charles cannot make it through Cerebro after this long, so Wolverine encourages him to try through him. Xavier communicates with his future self and is encouraged to work for peace between humans and mutants once more. Meanwhile, Magneto intercepts the prototype Sentinels in transit and laces their polymer-based frames with the steel, giving him power over them. He uses Cerebro to trace Mystique, who is on her way to Washington, D.C. Charles was trying to stop her, but he couldn't. Magneto gets into Defense Department and has retrieved his telepathy-blocking helmet. In the future, Sentinels will find Charles and the team in China, and they get closer. As Xavier, Wolverine, and Beast seek Mystique, Nixon presents the Sentinel prototypes in the White House. Mystique attempts to assassinate Nixon, posing as a member of Secret Service. Still, Xavier intercepts her, stops her, and convinces her that killing the president or Trask would be wrong. The future and past are shown back and forth. In the present, Magneto commandeers the Sentinels and attacks the crowd before barricading the White House with the Robert F. Kennedy's Memorial Stadium. In the future, storms slow down the Sentinels that are already close. Bishop and Blink fight along with the storm. Nixon and Trask are led to a safe room by the cabinet, Secret Service officers, and Mystique, who is disguised as a Secret Service member. Eric joins the storm in the future. Magneto places the stadium around the White House, and following that, Charles gets trapped by his act. In the future, the X-Men make their final fight against a massive army of Sentinels attacking the monastery. Wolverine and Beast attempt to stop Magneto, but he pits a Sentinel against them before throwing Wolverine into the Potomac River. Simultaneously, Logan is drowning in the future too. Magneto removed the safe chamber from the White House in 1973, intending to assassinate Nixon and his cabinet. Eric encourages mutants to stand with him in defending their people against the humans as he turns the cameras on and broadcasts his video. Many mutants die while attempting to purchase more time in the future when X-Men finally stand against an invasion of Sentinels attacking the temple. Mystique, masquerading as Nixon, uses a plastic gun to incapacitate Magneto. Xavier persuaded Mystique to spare Trask, allowing her and Magneto to escape. Mystique's actions are seen as a mutant saving the president, resulting in the discontinuation of the Sentinel program. Changing the course of events, Mystique's action removes the grim future from the annals of history. The mutants from before exit one by one. Wolverine awakens in the future to discover that Iceman, Rogue, Colossus, Pride, Beast, Storm, Jean Grey, Cyclops, and Xavier are still alive. Charles nods in agreement after learning that the Wolverine from the original timeline has returned. Trask is caught attempting to sell American military secrets. In 1973, Mystique impersonates Stryker and brings Wolverine into custody. A mob chants in honor of In Sabak Nur, who builds pyramids out of rocks by telekinetic means, while his 4 horsemen look on from a distance in ancient Egypt.